everyone. I'm here today to talk to you about how to supercharge your sales funnel with what we at ZoomInfo like to call pipeline plays, which I'll talk about a bit later in the presentation. But first off, a little bit about me. I'm Shane. I've spent the latter half of my career working in a variety of leadership positions across a bunch of technology companies, Adroll, Intercom, ZoomInfo. One of the things that all these companies have in common is that they're all focused on go-to-market technology. And so I've not only had the benefit of working as a marketing, in some cases, a sales leader, but also in companies actually creating technology to sell to those markets as well. So all that's to say, I spent a ton of time thinking about sales and marketing and go-to-market overall as a topic and industry. And like this is obvious, but like one of the things that has really become abundantly clear through my time in the industry is that marketing has fundamentally changed. Gone are the days where there's this idea of this like a linear pipeline where marketing would drop leads in the top, they'd be handed to an SDR who would work that lead into a demo and would hand it to an account rep who would then work it through to a closed deal. A very linear process. It actually exists in a lot of companies, but for the most advanced companies and the ones that are doing this right, they're rethinking this model and rethinking the role that marketing can play across this, so that we're not just at the starting point of this, but involved throughout the funnel. And so this is the key concept that I want to talk about through today. I'm assuming that most people in the audience are marketers or demand gen related people. And so I really want to talk about the role that marketing can now play throughout that funnel. And so now the pipeline isn't this linear thing. It is a sort of circular world where sales and marketing are both interacting with the potential customer in order to engage with them, in order to drive intent and have them close. It's not linear. Various potential clients will go from having high intent and then they'll go quiet, and that's where marketing can come back involved. And it ebbs and flows, and as a result, this model of this being much more circular with sales and marketing constantly in both joining up to interact with that client before they convert is a much more apt sort of way of thinking about the new world. And this is something that, as I mentioned, I've spent a lot of time thinking about. Going back down memory lane, when I was at Adroll at the time, I was just running the marketing side of the house. And one of the things that I felt really strongly, I'd come from a consumer background where you didn't have a marketing team and a sales team. You just had marketing that worked to generate revenue. And I couldn't quite get my head around why there was this like such a delineation between marketing and sales. Surely it was just one big acquisition engine. And so I kicked off this project called Acquisition Engine with the idea that we would be able to not only understand using attribution how sales and marketing work together, but actually start to rethink their roles and how marketing can get involved throughout the funnel. This actually led to our first investment in account-based marketing, which wasn't really a thing at that time. And then actually, ultimately, all of this work led to me taking on ownership of our North America sales team as well, to try and, it was clear the value of that alignment. And so I had the pleasure of taking on the responsibility for the sales team as well. The challenge at this time, though, was that the data and the technology to truly allow marketing and sales work in this very symbiotic way just wasn't there. The technology was there for marketing to generate a lead, create an MQL, score it, route it, and have the sales team work it. But it became very difficult to have the two teams in tandem be touching an account all the way through the funnel without risk of a significant amount of stepping on toes. And so this was hard, really hard. And as I said, the technology really wasn't there to get it to the thing that ultimately we wanted it to be. And so along that journey, this company ZoomInfo came along, and over the last few years has really been building the technology and the data to bring to life some of the visions that I think that a lot of people like myself and my team at Adderall have been having, which is if you have an amazing data, you can understand the things that are happening within your customer database, but also your prospect database. Once you have that data, your ability to target is much more advanced. And then secondly, when you have the technology to use the data to automatically trigger certain activities, like automatically sending an email sequence or automatically triggering a direct mail in the likes of a Sendoso, now you are at a point where marketing and sales can truly interact, and you can have marketing do the heavy lifting around a lot of the automation, the mapping of that customer journey. And then you leave the sales team to do what they're truly excellent at, which is having those one-to-one conversations with reps. And so ZoomInfo have now built this capability so that you can do these pipeline plays, which I'll talk about in a second, at scale. And so, yeah, so what is a pipeline play? And there's obviously many other uses of a company like ZoomInfo, but this is the thing that's most exciting to me, given the work that I have been doing at the likes of Adderall. And so a pipeline play is essentially sort of three things combining to generate revenue. So number one, and this is the bedrock of what a pipeline play is, it's having great data about your customer or potential clients. So you have some of your own first-party data, but then you can combine that with the likes of a ZoomInfo data cloud, where we understand things like when a company gets a funding round, or when one of your contacts leaves that company and goes somewhere else, or all the other things that could be happening within your customer and prospect, with your customers and your prospects. And so you've got this now bedrock of amazing insight and data. Well, what can you do with that? Well, you can set triggers, so that if something happens within that data, you mark that as a trigger, and when it happens, it kicks off number three, which is a certain action, with the idea that that action will then ultimately drive some sort of action on the path of the customer and turn into revenue. And so I'm going to walk you through three examples of pipeline plays that we run at ZoomInfo at different stages of the funnel, just to bring this to life for you. But I think my macro point here is that pipeline plays should be a thing. Like, pipeline plays should be something that every single marketer, and when they meet up with each other, is like, hey, what pipeline plays are you running? And it's not, which just shows me in my mind that this kind of concept is still very much in its infancy. I think it's something you could really take away in your own companies if you're not doing this stuff. So without further ado, here's three examples of pipeline plays you could be running. So one, which is more upper funnel. Imagine you identify in your data that a customer champion, so one of your existing customers, the main champion within that account, who loves your product, leaves that company and then goes to join a new company that is not your customer. That is an amazing opportunity to go and sell into that new company, because you now have a champion in that company. And so, like in the old days, what would happen is you'd be waiting for a sales rep to be able to realize that maybe they're on LinkedIn and go, oh, look, the person's moved. Okay, maybe I should reach out. Now you can do that automatically. You can set a trigger such that if that champion leaves a customer and goes somewhere else, the company and goes somewhere else, let's automatically trigger an email sequence to that contact your champion in that new account. And you should probably also be worried about the churn risk potentially in your existing customer. But for today, I'm just talking about the opportunity to sell more revenue. And so, yeah, this is something that we've actually done at ZoomInfo. And so here's an example of the actual, the outreach, relatively straightforward. And this is actually, this pipeline play receives an 84% response rate, really, really high, and is the sort of thing that if you were relying back, as I said, in the day when I was at the likes of an Adderall, we wouldn't have even had the ability to identify as quickly in the data that thing had happened and trigger this type of work. It would have been way more manual. So a great example of something that every company should be running this play. Number two, so moving down the funnel, here's more of a mid-funnel one. So imagine you're in a situation where you have a really exciting prospect that's in the opportunity closing stage. You sent them, the sales rep has sent them the DocuSign, but you haven't had any engagement in that DocuSign for 48 hours. You should be getting nervous, right? And so rather than relying on the sales rep to be right on top of it, you can actually automate some of this. So you could define an action where now we're going to launch actually an email from an executive at your company into the executive signer on the other side, just to check that everything's okay. And so again, an example of pretty basic outreach, but in this instance, you're not actually stepping on the sales rep's toes. Maybe the sales rep is actually still in contact and communication with them, but the execs are able to communicate one-on-one to make sure everything is okay. And so a great way to just sort of like push the deal over the line if required. And then the third one I wanted to show is more kind of bottom of funnel, or actually it's in the new funnel of your existing customer base. But imagine you could set up a trigger that when your churn risk model identifies that somebody is a churn risk, an action could be that you automatically send that customer just a soft touch survey to the at-risk clients, to better understand how happy are they, and if there's anything that you can learn in order to help reduce that churn risk. Obviously, another thing that you could probably automate and probably should automate it would be an outreach from the account manager to check in. But this is a softer touch action that you could do alongside that. And so again, this would be type of outreach you could do, and this is particularly for companies where you might have a lot of customers, and so an account manager might be managing 200 different accounts, and they can't do this manually each time. So this is the sort of thing that you can automate the outreach and then have the account managers just work on the responses. So those are 3 plays, different stages of the funnel. By no means am I suggesting that these 3 plays are the things that are going to fundamentally change your revenue, but if you have enough of these things set up at different stages of the funnel, you can really significantly increase your ability to help manage that funnel. And this is the type of thing that marketing are perfectly positioned to own all of this. At ZoomInfo, this is owned out of the marketing team, where we have a revenue generation team. And it's marketing skill sets. It's thinking about mass communication that is data-driven and automated, leaving the sales and account management team to do what they're best at, which is talking to customers. But yeah, as I said, it's only 3 out of many, many more. And just to bring this home, this is a big number, but to bring it home, the importance here, apparently $1 trillion is lost every year from sales and marketing teams being misaligned. So that's a big number. So something we should be doing a lot of. And so last point is that we are actually writing a book on this. So I gave 3 example plays, and we're actually sourced about 100 different ones that we are running at ZoomInfo. And so, yeah, we are working on this book at the moment. It's not ready, but if you would like to receive one at the time, just tweet me at Shane Murphy, and I'll make sure to add you to the notification list, so that when it comes out, we'll ping you a copy. So yeah, in summary, I think this concept of pipeline plays is something that should be ubiquitous in sales and marketing. And if you're not running them, you should set up a specific team dedicated to delivering these. I think that if you do that, you can really realign and rethink that relationship between sales and marketing. So thank you for all of your time. And yeah, I hope that you got something from this presentation. Thanks, everyone. Bye.